We are proceeding with our next speaker. So the summer transfer window is often associated with excitement, with pressure, and last-minute negotiations. Behind every transfer, however, stands a complex framework of contracts, regulations, compliance requirements, and risk management. Our next speaker brings a unique perspective from inside one of the biggest clubs in Romanian football, combining legal expertise with practical football leadership. Please welcome to the stage Marian Mihail.
Hello, and good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. As Nina said, I will bring the club's perspective into the transfers. It's my expertise from working as an independent counsel, working as an executive director in the British Championship, working as an executive director in Bucharest in Rapid, and now stepping on non-executive position. And just purely legal. It's something that if you work inside the club, you can compare with what you're doing, but if you're working on the other side of the club, you can maybe better understand now how clubs think and how they structure deals. Because you've heard Ricardo from Venezia earlier, it's possible to move from 1.5 million to 26 million in just one season. It's impossible to do this with sponsorship. It's impossible to do this with gate revenue. Yeah, so this is probably why you're all here, because you're all involved one way or another in transfers. In my opinion, a transfer is every key signing, so it's not just the purchase of federative rights. It's like when you sign a coach or a sporting director. My philosophy is that a transfer should be judged on a full life cycle that starts with scouting, something most of you are very good at, negotiation, signing, integrating the player, making him perform, and then exit. The exit question that should be asked is, if it doesn't work, can we still manage the asset? Because the players are, in the vast majority of cases, the club's biggest assets. I've also moved forward and asked two former colleagues, sporting director, seasoned sporting director from Serie A, seasoned sporting director from the British Championship, on their opinions. You will see them throughout these slides. And the motto that always stands out for me is, fans judge me on who I sign, chairman judges me on who I sell. This is from England. What makes a good transfer? What makes a bad transfer? Let's start with the good one. Good transfer is not just a good player, it's the right player at the right cost with the right sporting pathway and a credible future market. This is the overall idea. You have the comparison, England and Serie A. You will see that they both mention balancing the financial possibilities, balancing the financial expectations with the sporting expectation. What makes a bad transfer, you might ask? Well, you could see the English philosophy that a bad transfer is the same as the above, but the opposite. If I pay too much and the player doesn't do well, then that can really hurt our business model. Ideally, everyone is aligned when you sign a player, chairman, director of football, ciao Salvatore, and head coach. A bad deal on the Italian side occurs when you end up paying too much of a salary and they perform poorly because of these excessive salaries. It's exactly these excessive salaries that then makes them unsellable. Some key points in ensuring a good transfer. Number one, and it really is number one in my opinion, start identifying risks before committing, not during the drafting of the contract. If you're identifying risks while you're writing the contract, you're doing it wrong. It's either you or someone from your team. Okay? Internal due diligence. This isn't just a legal step, and this isn't just something that you go through that doesn't bring you any result. It's not like with the KYC or AML procedures that you do just because the bank or the financial regulatory office asks you to do. This is something that can, if done properly, will end up anticipating risks. So inside the club, we always push for all the relevant departments to ask themselves the relevant questions. I've given you an example. Is this a player ready to play, or is he a future investment? Is he somehow maybe blocking the path of a previous signing? Haven't we already signed an under 21 last window on the same position that we're signing this 30-year-old player right now? This moves us to internal alignment. So everyone needs to be sure that they're getting the right player profile that they were looking for, because maybe the coach is looking for someone ready to play, maybe the sporting director is looking for a prospect. Negotiation, focus on the important aspects. Don't create useless battles. Don't haggle too much. You've been here probably a day and a half, maybe even 2 years, 2 days, sorry, and you've probably already heard a lot of negotiating on the hallways, friends, colleagues being stuck on the same deal. Everyone who's into transfers is into them to make money, and they only make money if the transfer gets done. I don't think anyone is getting paid by the hour to work in transfers. Finally, it's the post-signing management, which ideally is done not just by the technical staff, it's also done by the rest of the administrative staff, especially if you're the club selling the player. You need to be on the lookout for fulfillment of conditionals, sell-ons, and so on. Rarely someone will chase you to tell you, well, you had a sell-on fee, or you had a conditional for 10 goals. He's just scored the 10th goal, please send me the invoice. The legal department can help you to put clauses in the contract that may force the counterparty to inform you. We could put penalties that could help us, for example, to prevent the future claim from being time-barred, from the statute of limitation being passed. But it's still important that we find out inside the club when the condition for the sell-on fee or for the conditional transfer fee has been fulfilled. I don't think anyone wants to do this on purpose, but it's probably happened once or twice. Ways to ruin a transfer, communications, leaks are rarely good. I'm talking about uncontrolled leaks. Controlled leaks are a totally different subject. Medical, you don't have enough time to make the proper medical examinations. Administrative errors, so for example, the deadline date can end up being missed because of miscalculations. Misalignment inside and outside the club. Yeah, like I said, for example, board wants an investment, head coach wants a player ready to sign. You will see this throughout the presentation. It's very important that the contract and the offer really reflect what the parties agree on to. This is one of the toughest positions a lawyer, like a solicitor, a lawyer working on advisory only, can be faced with, because the client usually comes with a contract and it says, Mr. Lawyer, is this a good contract? Well, I don't know, what did you agree on? Because if you ask this question, then the answer that you will get is if it's a legal contract or an enforceable contract, not a good one or a bad one. Yeah, the law allows for you to have penalties. I'm not sure if in your industry 10% a year is a small or a big penalty. Regulatory and ITC issues. For example, this happened to me last year. 1.5 hours before the closing of the window in Italy, a colleague calls, do you happen to know this club in Romania? Club X? Okay, why would you need them at 10:30 in the night? Well, I had a player on loan from them a couple of seasons ago. They never updated the TMS to have him return to their own club. And now TMS thinks I still have that player on loan, and I've just signed an agreement to get a player from Premier League on loan in Italy. I can't register him until they deregister him. Yeah, so last 90 minutes. Imagine this. You can all imagine that if you get a player on loan from Premier League who's ready to play in Italy, it's an important deal. Last but not least, ambiguity. Ambiguity has no place living among your business. Ambiguity is bad in deals. Ambiguity is bad in contracts. Disputes usually arise from frustration. Yeah, and ambiguity is one of the main causes of frustration. Strictly from the legal point of view, not the technical one, a successful transfer comes with an unambiguous contract. Parties' interests and expectations are perfectly aligned. If it matters for one party, it needs to be in the contract, which perfectly reflects what the party is intending on agreeing to. Yeah, just like you have the word with the bank, that the bank gives you an umbrella when it's sunny outside, and it asks for the umbrella back the moment it starts raining. A contract is usually written and signed among friends, when we're all friends, and then we start reading it when we get into a fight or become enemies. Realistic payment plan is also a good thing to have in a successful transfer. For example, if you're the selling club, it would be very nice to align the installments with your cash flow needs. If you're the buying club, it's the same. Again, if you're the seller club, you can always keep an eye out for the buyer club's own FFP rules, the financial fair play. So maybe you can use the deadlines when they are being controlled by their domestic authorities as guarantees for the payments. Yeah, in European clubs, in clubs participating in European competitions, it's the 15th of every next month of each quarter. So, for example, if the club played in the groups of the Conference League and you have a due date set somewhere around 20th of June, you can be very sure that you will receive money or at least some phone calls asking for more time by no later than July 15th. And proper fail-safes that avoid litigation. For example, instead of putting huge penalties for certain events, try putting conditionals. We all know how important medical exams are in signing of a player. I hope everyone knows that it's not enforceable to make the validity of the player contract conditional on a clean bill of health. Yeah. So what you can do, you can put it in the contract to give it way, to make it seem important for the parties. But what smart clubs really do is they communicate this risk to their whole team in charge of the transfers, and they actually set in place a timeline where it's physically impossible to sign the contract before having the results from the full medical examinations. One of the first big transfers I worked on was moving Radu Dragusin from the Romanian Atletico Madrid Academy to Juventus Turin. And I remember Radu coming into Italy 3 full business days before the scheduled date of signings, during which he underwent all of the medical tests, and I'm pretty sure that if he would have failed some of them, we would have just never signed the contract to begin with. You should be on the lookout for at least some of these issues: reputation, social media accounts, public appearances, strange opinions on divisive actions. We did something very unique in Romania without pursuing it, without realizing it. We played with 2 strikers at some point, one from Serbia, one from that place next to Serbia that we don't recognize. Yeah, and they played up really well, but we had to sell them after 1 year. Eligibility, look for your internal regulations. If you have a homegrown quota, if he's already played in the European competition, and so on. Check this before. Maybe he had a prior suspension from the previous season. Dual nationality. Make sure that dual nationality really exists and it benefits you. I had the general manager from a Romanian league call me a couple of months, because we have an exception in Romania, and Moldovans and Serbians can work for 9 months a year without a work permit, with the simplified work permit. So he called me, and he was very old, and he didn't realize that he was being offered a player from Montenegro who was being presented as Serbian. So to him, it looked like the same country, but it made a big difference with with the work permit. Like I said, prior disciplinary sanctions, visa and work permit restrictions. Again, this is an aspect that in the CAS jurisprudence falls within the responsibility of the club. So unless the player intentionally tanks his visa or work permit application, it's really hard to make his employment contract valid on him obtaining it. When it comes to offers, the principle is KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Just make sure the offer has the essential elements of the contract, who's getting what, in which conditions. It's just a sketch, it's not the final painting. Watch out for the applicable law, because most legal systems allow the contract formation by acceptance of the offer. So if you're in this situation, put clear deadlines or make sure it's not final. Just use something like subject to final board approval or can be withdrawn at any time. You could include like a blanket cassette for factoring, because nowadays we make a lot of deals in installments, so we can offset the risk of default and the unpleasantly of receiving money in installments with factoring. But most factoring companies want the consent of the debtor, so it's good to have it in the offer pre-given. Watch out for time-barred offers, because deadlines in most countries function in favor of those setting them. I had a situation a couple of years ago, player comes in, signs as a free agent, club from Egypt calls, he said, well, he was my player, he accepted my offer. I called the player, I called the player's agent, and said, yeah, well, the offer was valid until the 8th, and I signed it until the 9th. I signed it on the 9th. We ended up settling it, and then the player sadly passed away. Be on the lookout for what's gross, what's net, tax, fiscal residency, and make sure that the person with whom you are dealing with has the proper authority. This goes always. I've heard a lot of agents being misled by people claiming to have authority inside the club when they didn't. From the legal and regulatory perspective, make sure you clarify the solidarity mechanism, because it's with the imposing of the electronic player passport, it's a bit harder now to include it. So you need to make it clear. If the buying club is also paying for the solidarity, you need to know when you're drafting, not when you're filing in the TMS. When it comes to sell-on fees, define exactly what's gross and what's net. If you're deducting something else, is it only from the fixed, also from the conditionals? Are they carried on? Because we can have a sell-on from a sell-on fee. Payment schedules. When it comes to conditionals, define clearly what the triggering event is. Official minutes may mean stoppage time as well, may mean just regular minutes. How many times is it payable? Do we have other conditions? These are the questions the contract should be addressing and answering, but it's not the legal department's job to answer it. It may be the legal department's job to ask them, but it's the sporting side that needs to explain. Lastly, some final advice in negotiations. Keep everything focused. Keep an eye for the disclosed risks. If it's not enforceable, don't insist on put it in the contract. And remember, it's not truly finished until the ITC is issued and the player is ready to play. Thank you very much.
And thank you as well, Marian. Thank you for sharing your experience, expertise, and knowledge from Rapid from Bucharest. Do you have any questions for our speaker? Feel free to ask. Don't be shy. No other questions? Would you like to add something? You said everything.
No,
All right.
I think
One more round of applause for Marian. We are proceeding with our program.